Have you ever sat in a room you've known for years? Perhaps a family gathering with generations around the table? An old friends circle where stories have been told 100 times? A community meeting in the same hall you've attended since the children were small? Or even a quiet conversation with grown children who now have children of their own? And watch two people offer the exact same idea. One speaks and heads nod slowly, eyes lock with interest. Someone even murmurs, "That's a good point, let's think about that." The other says almost the identical words a minute later, and the moment passes like a breeze no one felt. Polite smiles, a quick subject change. The conversation rolls on without pause. Same sentence, same logic, completely different outcome. The difference wasn't in the content, the cleverness, or the volume. It was in the invisible ranking that happened before the first word even landed. One person carries weight, the other carries air. If you've lived long enough to notice this quiet injustice repeat itself across decades of interactions, family decisions, neighborhood disputes, workplace discussions long past, friendships that have weathered storms, you know exactly what I'm describing. Being taken seriously has less to do with what you say, and far more to do with how you exist in the space before, during, and after the words come out. That silent authority isn't something you declare with fanfare. It's something you embody through years of steady presence. And after enough birthdays, most of us realize it's one of the few things still fully under our control. One of the quiet privileges of having walked this path so long. Being taken seriously means others perceive you as competent in thought and action, emotionally stable under pressure, and largely free from the anxious need for their immediate approval or reassurance. It isn't about being stiff, humorless, cold, or distant. Far from it. Seriousness here is perceived authority, the kind that makes people pause before they interrupt you, consider your view before dismissing it out of hand, and adjust their own tone when addressing you. It's the quiet gravity that turns a casual suggestion into a decision worth following, that makes a simple observation feel like guidance rather than just another opinion. You felt it when someone you've respected for decades speaks. The room shifts slightly, not out of fear or intimidation, but out of instinctive deference to someone who has earned the right to be heard. That shift doesn't come from brilliant phrasing, loud volume, or endless elaboration. It comes from a presence that calmly signals, "I belong here, I know what I'm doing, and I don't need you to confirm it for me right now." The human brain runs an authority filter the instant someone enters our awareness or begins to speak. Evolutionary wiring, honed over countless generations, compels us to scan for leadership cues in mere milliseconds before conscious reasoning fully engages. Posture, vocal tone, pacing, facial tension, even the subtle rhythm of breathing. All these are read faster than the actual words register. Social perception has long centered on a dominance-warmth model. People instinctively sort others along two main axes. Warmth determines whether you're liked, trusted, approachable. Dominance determines whether you're respected, followed, deferred to. The sweet spot for being taken seriously lies in high competence paired with high composure, creating what amounts to an authority bias. When someone projects both steadiness and capability, we grant them more credibility, more speaking room, more influence almost automatically. After years of watching this dynamic unfold in real rooms, dinner tables, living rooms, meeting halls, backyards, you've probably noticed the pattern time and again. The person who remains calm and contained under pressure, who doesn't rush or overcompensate, almost always ends up steering the conversation, even when they contribute the fewest words. Posture and spatial control form the unspoken foundation of that authority. An upright spine without rigidity, shoulders relaxed but not slouched forward, chest open without aggressive puffing. These signal genuine ease in your own skin and in the space you occupy. Minimal fidgeting, no restless shifting of weight, no hand-wringing, no tapping feet or fingers. Comfortable use of space. You don't shrink into corners, hug the wall, or make yourself smaller to avoid notice. You occupy what is rightfully yours without apology or overreach. Slow, deliberate movements, reaching for a cup, turning your head to listen, crossing your legs, all communicate certainty rather than urgency or nervousness. These aren't theatrical poses or practiced performances. They're the natural byproduct of someone who has spent decades learning to carry themselves with quiet assurance, who no longer needs to announce their right to be there. When your body quietly says, "I am steady here," others believe it long before your mouth opens to speak. Voice and pacing reinforce and deepen that message. A lower vocal variability, no wild swings in pitch or sudden volume spikes, reads as self-control and maturity. Calm tone, never rushed, breathy, or strained. Slower delivery, giving each word its own moment to land and resonate rather than tumbling over one another. Far fewer filler words. Like, sort of, because the speaker trusts the silence between thoughts instead of fearing it. These speech patterns directly shape how intelligent, capable, and authoritative someone appears to others. A measured voice doesn't shout for attention or beg for it. It simply commands it through restraint. You've heard the difference in people you've respected over the years. Their words arrive unhurried, each one carrying its full intended weight, because nothing is wasted on noise or filler. Emotional containment serves as the invisible glue holding it all together. No visible overreactions to provocation, disagreement, or even mild disrespect. No defensive edge creeping into the tone when challenged. No nervous laughter to fill awkward tension or deflect discomfort. The ability to feel strongly inside, yet show only what serves the moment, neither suppressing nor spilling, signals profound inner strength and resilience. When you don't flinch at a sharp comment, don't bristle visibly at a slight, don't rush to justify or explain yourself the instant doubt appears, others register true steadiness. Emotional regulation isn't cold suppression, it's quiet mastery. And mastery, especially after decades of navigating life's ups and downs, invites far deeper trust than volatility or over-disclosure ever could. The scarcity of words amplifies every other element. Speaking less forces every sentence to matter more. Avoiding over-explanation leaves space for others to lean in, to fill the gaps with their own respect rather than with dismissal or boredom. Statements land clean and complete. No trailing paragraphs of qualification. No softening qualifiers tacked on. No preemptive apologies for simply having an opinion. Economy of language increases weight because true scarcity creates perceived value. The person who says precisely what needs saying and then stops creates psychological gravity. Others begin waiting for your next word instead of mentally checking out or tuning into someone else. Boundaries and micro-corrections quietly reinforce that gravity over time. When interrupted, you calmly interject, "I wasn't finished," and continue without apology, escalation, or visible irritation. You don't laugh along with jokes made at your expense, even light ones. You let the moment sit until the attempted humor dies of its own accord. You hold eye contact during disagreement, steady and unblinking, without staring aggressively, or looking away submissively. Respect grows when your behavior remains consistent across moments. You don't bend or shrink to keep superficial peace. You hold the line without unnecessary drama. These small, repeated acts of self-respect train others, often unconsciously, to treat you with the deference your presence deserves. The approval trap undermines so much of this hard-earned authority. Over-smiling to soften every statement, or make yourself seem perpetually agreeable. Over-nodding to signal alignment before you've even formed your own view. Seeking visible reassurance mid-sentence through glances or questions. These all betray a lingering high need for validation. The more visibly you chase approval, the less authority you project. People sense the underlying hunger and instinctively pull back, offering less deference because they feel you need their affirmation more than they need your guidance. Dropping that need entirely is one of the hardest but most liberating shifts that arrives with age and self-knowledge. The stillness advantage may be the most powerful and underused tool of all. A still body, no unnecessary gestures, no rocking, shifting, or adjusting. A steady gaze that doesn't dart around the room or plead for connection. Calm, visible breathing that never quickens noticeably under pressure or scrutiny. Stillness creates psychological gravity. People are drawn toward it, subtly unsettled by it in the best way, and ultimately respectful of it. In a world increasingly full of fidgeting, constant motion, and verbal filler, the person who can simply be still stands out as someone who doesn't need to fill space to feel secure or important. That quiet command pulls focus and respect without any apparent effort. When you're consistently not taken seriously, despite good ideas or long experience, look honestly at the patterns that may have built up. Over-familiarity that has slowly eroded any remaining mystique. Oversharing of inner thoughts or doubts that removes intrigue and replaces it with predictability. Over-availability that makes your presence feel ordinary rather than valued. Overreactivity that signals emotional fragility instead of strength. These habits, often formed over years of trying to stay connected, be liked, or avoid conflict, quietly erode the authority you've rightfully earned through time. They turn what could be commanding presence into mere background. Recalibrating your presence begins with deliberate, small intentions. Enter rooms slower. Let your arrival register with others before you speak or move further. Speak later. Allow the air to fill with others' voices first so your eventual words stand in contrast and carry more contrast. Hold pauses deliberately. Don't rush to rescue silence when it arrives. Let it work for you. Reduce unnecessary movement. Trust stillness to do the heavy lifting. Control tone before content. Ensure your voice is grounded, low, and even before any idea leaves your mouth. Presence first, words second. These aren't radical changes or performances. They're gentle returns to the steady, composed self you've carried through decades of life, now allowed to lead again without apology. Here is the truth that settles in after enough years spent in enough rooms, watching power shift in subtle ways. You don't demand seriousness. You project it. The moment your body, your voice, your stillness, your restraint, and your quiet self-possession align, the invisible ranking tilts in your favor without a single plea. People start listening not because you ask them to, but because your very existence makes it impossible not to. You've accumulated wisdom, hard-earned perspective, and a calm that only time can forge. Now let those qualities show in how you occupy space, rather than in how many words you use to explain or justify them. The next time you enter a familiar circle, walk in slower, speak less, stay steadier. Watch how quickly the room remembers who deserves to be taken seriously. Because seriousness isn't requested or negotiated, it's recognized. And once it's truly recognized, it rarely fades.